What's going on? So, old Russell Wilson, quarterback and now the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he talked about how he opened the doors for black quarterbacks. Now, I had to read the context in its proper content, but he had to acknowledge Doug Williams before him for going to the Super Bowl. He had to acknowledge Steve McNair for going to the Super Bowl for him. He didn't do that. He talked about the ones that came after him. Now, in his content, he was representing after the first two African American head coaches to face off in Super Bowl, Tony Dungy and Lovie Smith. It was a few years later with Seattle. Russell Wilson is, I think, a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think if Pete Christmas Carroll hadn't messed up that Super Bowl against New England, he'd have beaten Brady and them, he'd have won his second ring. History might have looked at him as kind of like a real precursor to Patrick Mahomes, as opposed to a guy that's more closer to the 16 to 25 greatest quarterbacks, as opposed to probably being an argument from the 11 to 20. That that fumble, pun intended, which wasn't a fumble, but that interception did damage to his legacy because it's never been the same since. And he did have great success in Seattle, but let's keep it 100. The Legion of Boom was big. That defense was special. And I have football fans and friends who will tell you that they don't really hold him as in high regard as I did, because some of them would tell you they think Colin Kaepernick was better than him, and they thought RG3, Robert Griffin III, was going to be better than him. And then when you factor in Cam Newton, who was a league MVP and had a one loss the year he went to the Super Bowl, make a case for Cam over him. Because some don't really hold Russell in that high regard like that. Some of them look at him as a better version of Donovan McNabb that won a chip. Donovan went to a Super Bowl. I know what he's trying to say. However, Mr. Mahomes then pretty much eclipsed that now. He didn't win back to back, so you're not really in that argument. And when you say this, Russell, you better acknowledge the Legion of Boom, that defense that you had, but you also got to acknowledge black quarterbacks who didn't get an opportunity. Because I can go back 40 years ago, Warren Moon didn't get the opportunity that you got. And we know that Warren Moon would run circles around you, Russell. It's not even up for discussion. I don't like it when people come out and they put themselves, as what context is he trying to say? Yeah, he won a Super Bowl, but he went by not acknowledging Steve McNair, who lost a close one to the Rams, or Don McNabb, who lost a close one to New England. They were brothers who were in the Super Bowl. We're not even going to talk about Randall Cunningham's greatness or Michael Vick. You do a disservice, or we don't go all the way back to Broadway Joe Gilliam. I don't like it when you get this kind of entitlement, like this kind of thing, like you're going to sidestep James Harris or other African American quarterbacks who played. Because in another era in time, Russell, you may have been just like Vince Evans, who played for the Bears forever and a day in the Raiders, who was scrambling and moving, but didn't get the same opportunity. So let's keep it 100, shall we? And I got a chance to read in its totality. And the sad part is a lot of people are forgetting about Russell because, with the success of Mahomes, he's making you forget about him, and what has happened. Not to mention that Russell fell off after years. His heyday and peak was with Seattle. That mess in Denver, for people who thought he was a Hall of Famer, he's like borderline. And if he sucks and stinks in Pittsburgh, I don't know. Now, he is going to be a mentor, and he's going to be competing with Justin Fields, another African-American quarterback. So we'll see how things turn out. But if you're going to put yourself and talk about black quarterbacks, you better acknowledge the whole totality, Russell. Because doing it to say that what you did, which was impressive, but let's not act like you didn't have one of the best defenses ever. Let's not act like some people don't look at you as an upward, better version of Brad Johnson to front as a game manager for a team that already has parts and places. Remember Tampa Bay, Brad Johnson won that Super Bowl with that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. And Johnson was a good quarterback. Russell is better. But just saying, don't act like you didn't have a top tier stud defense. You had one of the best defenses in the last 25 years, easily. And the going thing is that most people, you happen to have a great arm and talent, but let's not act like, and you was on your way to something special, or not for that Super Bowl against New England. I truly believe he wins that chip We're talking about Russell on a different level and capacity, as opposed to Pete Christmas Carol and them trying to be cute and not giving the ball to Marshawn Lynch. Because Marshawn said, I'm just here so I don't get fined. They should have gave it to Marshawn. Even Brady and them knew the reaction was like, oh, y'all blew it. And look at Richard Sherman's face. That team was never the same after that. That was a waste. The way they got by Green Bay, which was still unimaginable, as bad as Russell looked in that game, but Aaron Rodgers was even worse. And that offside kick and all that, you have everything go your way, you got to finish it up. And he did play better, and the defense went down, but it was never the same. Never the same. So he has to clean it up. And I think apparently he's cleaned it up what he said, because Shannon Sharp, I think, them came after him, and rightfully so. You can't say stuff like that, especially when you're not acknowledging the past. And that's the problem with a lot with black culture in terms of entertainment, be it sports, music, film, etc. The lack of respect for the past, for those who paved the way, is insulting. And it's important that it's acknowledged. You just do it, you better acknowledge all of them. You better go all the way back and tell the truth. Because you know how the NFL has been racist, especially when it comes to black quarterbacks. Because you know the NFL stood for Negroes forget leadership. Tell it, or don't say nothing at all. I better off having you playing like you're deaf, dumb, and blind, and crippled and crazy than to open up your mouth and say something like that. Please hit like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another. Share the video if you like them out. Peace.